This is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Savage Dan, UK Media Relations for BOXXER. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm gonna probably have to change that Savage Dan thing. Let's go with Dan Stewart. Everyone's asking me, is your name really Savage?
Like on the birth certificate and everything. Yeah, Savage Dan, aka Dan Stewart, of course. I guess first of all, just tell us a bit about how your life and your profile has changed since you took the role with BOXXER.
Do you know what? Because I was always involved in boxing, I'm not sure if it's actually changed that much. It's probably just people probably noticing that I'm a bit more at the forefront of things, and I'm on top tables, and they know I'm in the mix more than maybe before, where it looked as though I was probably more of a presenter or more like talent. So the roles have changed, but I'm not sure if things have actually changed in my life. I've always been in boxing, I guess. So
Do you get
yeah,
more
it
kind of
doesn't feel.
interaction and stuff on social media, positive and negative?
Yeah, I get a lot of people that will bite if I say something or if I voice an opinion more so than ever before. But it's part of it. It's boxing fans, isn't it? In boxing, everyone is an expert, I guess. Everyone thinks that they are correct, and sometimes everyone's opinions clash, and it's just one of those things. I have to try my hardest not to bite when people bite at me.
You were a very good amateur, of course. What made you go down the kind of presenting route rather than stick with competitive boxing?
That's a good question. To be fair, I think, as we all know, boxing is one of those sports where 99% isn't going to do it. You actually need to really be committed to it, and you have to give absolutely everything. And I think I was at a stage in my life. I think my missus was pregnant, and boxing can be super unpromised, as well as all the success stories. You hear loads of people that were incredible, and no one's ever heard of them. So I decided to go a safer route, a more media route. Still ended up back in boxing, of course, but without having to get up, do the 5 a.m. runs, do all the sparring and all the actual real hard work, because everyone wants the the accolades and all the good stuff that boxers get at the end of their careers or during their career, but they don't see how much pain and actual like stress and what they actually have to go through to get to that level. They don't just arrive there. They probably, in my opinion, it is the hardest sport in the world.
What do you find as the biggest challenge for what you're doing now? I mean, because the people from the outside, they'll think you're living the dream. I get it as well, and I'm, a different kind of thing to what you're doing. But what do you find as the biggest challenges of the jobs?
Um, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts in boxing, and things change all the time. I think the biggest challenge is being able to adapt quickly to different situations, whether it's something such as COVID and having to change your dates, and or fighters pulling out. We've had to deal with that loads of times as well, or somebody getting an injury and having to reschedule. You need to be really proactive and almost have an idea ready, something already, kind of a contingency plan in place for if something wrong, happens. So that is probably the biggest challenge that you'll face. The fact that in boxing, almost nothing goes completely to plan. It might look like it's all fine, but there's usually things that you need to really quickly adjust to.
All these issues that are taking place at the moment does mean it's going to be a pretty frenetic February for BOXXER and for Sky
Yeah.
Sports. Chris Eubank Jr, Liam Williams, they're targeting February the 5th. I think there's a Welsh government announcement coming tomorrow. But just tell us what you make of that fight. And does the being put back a week, does that benefit anyone? I mean, it's only a week.
I think that fight's incredible. I am. I mean, it was originally meant to be December 11th, and obviously Liam Williams got the shoulder injury. It's a fight I've almost been salivating for because it's such a good tear up. Everyone's saying it's a domestic dust up, but it's not. It's above that, in my opinion. You've got Eubank and Williams, two high class operators, two genuine, world title contenders. They don't like each other. There's bad blood. And with it being moved, luckily, it's only moved a week over, hopefully, given everything's all good with the Welsh government guidelines. I'm not sure if it benefits anybody. I think it was not going to be the longest of camps either way for them. They'll both be pretty prepared. If there has to be a benefit for somebody, it will probably be Williams, because he gets to spend an extra week with his new trainer. But other than that, I can't really imagine that a week makes the hugest of differences in terms of advantages for one or the other.
What did you make of Williams changing trainer before what is arguably the most important fight of his life now?
The thing is, I mean, they say in boxing, I mean, the earlier you do something, the better. So if you feel like you need to change your trainer, or you need a change for something, then the best time to do it is probably now. It may not look convenient and it may be a little bit jittery, but I mean, Liam's obviously made that decision because it's the right one for him. And in boxing, the boxers have to make the correct decisions for themselves. So he's obviously thought, I will be better off, regardless of if the fight is around the corner, changing trainers right now. He believes it will give him a better chance of winning the fight against Eubank.
Now, what did you kind of make of Chris Eubank Jr. before you started working for BOXXER? What was your perception of him?
I always had the perception of that is a tough fight for absolutely anybody. And if there were no 12-round limits, I'm not sure if he'd have any losses on his record. He is that kind of fighter. He can be outfoxed and sometimes out-tricked and you know, you can... But if it was a fight till the end, I'm not sure if he'd have any losses. He seems to just always have more in a tank, more in a tank, more in a tank. Some people will look at the fur jackets, the flashiness, the kind of confidence / cockiness, and straight away not like him. But I think in boxing, you need those kinds of personalities, people that polarize the fans and make people dislike them just as much as people like them. I've always liked him. I've always thought if I was to fight, I would try and be somebody who was slightly more polarizing as well, and I would try and rustle people's feathers. But some people don't like him. Some people do like him. Either way you watch him, because he's always in action-packed fights. He's always the fighter in the fight that is usually bringing the file. He's fought huge names, big names, beaten the vast majority of them. Only lost at the top world-class level. So I think there's a lot to like about him.
Also in February, we've got Josh Taylor, undisputed world champion, Britain's only undisputed world champion, male world champion, I should say. Actually, no, in both sides. Yeah, we haven't got any female undisputed world champions either. He's defending against Jack Catterall, who's waited 2 years for his shot now. What sort of chance do you give Catterall in that fight?
I like Catterall, actually. I think he's a good operator. My issue is I think Josh Taylor is phenomenal. And I think he's still probably got a couple of more levels to go through before we see the finished article. But he is something special. Obviously, you always give Catterall a chance. He's a very tidy operator, southpaw as well. I wonder if he's going to have enough to beat Josh Taylor. I guess we'll find out. But anything's possible, you know. When you can punch, when you can move, when you're a southpaw, he's brave as well as a fighter. So he's got all the ingredients there needed to beat Josh Taylor. And obviously, there's no bigger incentive than being able to fight for every belt that there possibly is. So you know, Josh Taylor is alluded to the fact that he had to go and pick up these belts one by one. Catterall gets to fight for them all at once. So there's not a bigger prize in boxing. You know, you get to fight for all of it, and I guess we'll find out when it happens.
And when someone from BOXXER or Sky Sports presumably told you that Amir Khan against Kell Brook had been signed, we've made it. What was your initial reaction?
I'm not sure if I believed it at first when it was first signed. Well, I kind of did, because we know what's going on. But it's almost a breath of you can breathe now. It's a breath of relief, because I mean, it's no secret. Loads of promoters have tried to make this fight for loads of years. It's not been able to be made for one reason or another. And finally, we get to see it. It's one of those fights that fans have always been split on who they thought the winner would be. Loads of people have said, at certain points it would have been Khan, certain points it would have been Brook. No one really knew, but everybody wanted to see that fight. So I think it would have been one of those fights that if it wasn't made, would go down in history as one of those grudge matches that just nobody could understand why it wasn't made. Someone had to do it.
What did you, when you were kind of younger and you were into the sport, you were an amateur and stuff, were they two fighters you looked at the time and a fight you wanted to see back then?
Yeah, I wanted to see that for years and years and years. I remember when Brook went to America and he beat Sean Porter, I was up watching it. So I don't think I missed a fight. I watched every fight of everyone's. Khan has obviously fought absolutely everybody as well, and he's done Vegas, he's done America loads of times. But I remember watching them both, and always, regardless of who they fought, I wasn't satisfied personally until they fought each other. So regardless of, even when, Brook goes and beats Sean Porter, the question is, all right, is it Amir Khan now? And then after the next fight, is it Amir Khan now? And it was the same for Amir. Every time he fought, there was still this overwhelming need from the British public and from the worldwide boxing public for him to fight Kell Brook, because it's got such a long backstory to it that we need that book closed now.
At this stage of their careers, who do you feel has got more left?
I know I'm not saying this with a promoter's hat on or with UK media relations hat on. I think this is a 50-50. And I think if I was to go out into the street now and just ask people who they thought would win that fight, I would come back with a 50-50 response. I think it would be straight, even down the line. In many ways, this might be the best time. Obviously, people will argue that it should have happened 5 years ago. This might be the best time for it to happen, because I'm not sure if anyone has an advantage, whether it be age, time out the ring. This is as 50-50 probably as it's ever been. And this is not a payday. This is real. They're both deep in camp, only thinking about each other. This is real. Like I think they both understand that regardless of all the things that they've achieved in their careers, and they've achieved ridiculous things, a lot of what their career will be defined as will be based on this fight.
You're involved. Oh, sorry.
It's scary. It's scary. It is actually quite scary. You've done all of that, but people still want to see the one thing, which is that rivalry that's, like 10, 15 years in the making.
And talking of that rivalry, you've been involved in the promotion and the build-up and so on. How authentic is their dislike for each other?
It doesn't matter how many times you say it. People, for some reason, don't believe it, because they want to believe that there's a little bit of, drama that is being manufactured from somewhere. This is as real as it gets. They really, really don't like each other, almost to the point where it's really close to having to like almost step in, because they're both very professional, and they are even on that line themselves. Brook, if Brook could have had the fight at the presser, he probably would have tried to have it there. So it is a genuine dislike for each other. It's been brewing. You'd think that after all these years, maybe perhaps that kind of dislike for each other would subside a little bit, and you'd understand the business side of it, but they don't like each other at all.
We've been told there's a big march coming up for BOXXER and Sky Sports as well. Can you give us any hints as to who that might involve?
I could, but I won't. There are announcements for a reason. So, for example, there are so many announcements imminent that we have to get out, and that you'll get them as you get them, but they're all coming very, very soon. We have got a big march. We've got a big year. It's a very, very hectic year for us.
Well, let's have you back on when those announcements start rolling out.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. You'll be the first call.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right. Really, really great to talk to you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch up in fight weeks in February, I'm sure.
Thanks, mate. Have a good day as well.
And you take care.
No.